Hello artists! We are going to be finishing up our snowy tree painted landscape today. This is a finished product made by one of your classmates. I think it's a phenomenal example of what we're going to be doing today. Your project probably looks something like this right now. You still have tape on your paper and your paint is looking fabulous. What we are going to be doing is removing the tape and adding texture by creating a pattern with crayon. So one thing that you might notice when you're removing the tape is if you go really fast, the tape will start to rip your paper. So it's all about taking your time and going slowly to remove the tape from the painting. You don't want to rip anything that you want it to remain nice and crisp and clean. And the tape might break off into multiple pieces, which is okay too. Just take your time, remove the tape. You'll have nice, bright, white trees left over when the tape is all gone. So I am just going to do one as my example today, but you get to paint all of your trees. I think I might even unwrap or untape this tree as well, just for a second example. So I'm just peeling the tape off. You might need a grown-up to help you do this, but it shouldn't stick too bad because when you add water to this tape, it actually makes it a little bit less strong. So it should peel off pretty nicely. One thing I always tell my students is if you are ripping tape off something or taking tape off and it starts to rip your paper, start from the other side than where you started. So if you're ripping from the bottom to the top, try pulling from the top to the bottom. Oh, I got a little rip here, but I think it's okay. There we go. Now I have two of my trees uncovered. The next step, I am going to need a black crayon, and I am going to create horizontal lines on my tree trunks. Horizontal lines are the opposite of vertical lines. Vertical lines are what we created our tree trunks with. They go from top to bottom or bottom to top, up and down. Horizontal lines go from right to left or side to side. If we are creating birch bark, we want to use horizontal lines to make the look of the birch bark show up nice and clear. So, I'm going to use my crayon and I'm going to make short horizontal lines up and down the trunk. Notice that I'm not coloring the trunk in or filling it in entirely with black. I'm just doing those horizontal lines on my trunk. That will make the bark look like it's wrapped around the tree. Now you're probably wondering, what about these lines that are diagonals? We should not have lines that go in the same direction as the trunk or the branches. So it should be going across the branches. This one's almost horizontal. Go. A little bit is plenty. Wonderful. So we have our trees and our branches have bark on them. The final step of this, and again, I'm only doing half of mine, so you can do the rest. The final step of this is to add a shadow on the tree. Because our trees are in the light of the daytime or the nighttime or whichever time of day you would like to be painting, we are going to create a shadow side on the tree to show that there is light being cast on it. Look at this fantastic example. We have light on the left side of the tree and darkness on the right. That shows that the light, or the sun, or even the moon, I suppose, is on the left side of our project, and the darkness, where there is no light or less light, is on the right. We can do this very, very easily with our watercolors that we were using before. So first you're going to need a little brush, or, a medium-sized brush. Nothing too big, nothing too small. And you're going to get it very, very wet. Then you, the artist, need to decide which side of your tree is going to be in shadow. I'm going to put the left side of my tree in shadow. So I'm using my water to make a line on the left side of my tree. This branch is also going to be in shadow, so I'm going to add water to that as well. So again, just water right now on the left side of my tree trunk for me, because that's where my shadow is. If it's the right for you, then put it on the right. Then we can dip our water into our black paint. And I know last time I said don't use black, but black is good for shadows, for darkness. And then I'm going to dot some black onto that water. So if you notice, what's happening is the paint is moving through the water and spreading out. As we know, watercolors work best with water. They're only activated by water. So if we have a lot of water and a little bit of paint, especially black paint, we're going to get a nice, neutral, light gray. I'll do the same thing again on my next tree. And now, the light is falling on the trees at all the same way. So I need to make sure that I do, again, on the left side, the shadow side. So just water up and down the trunk and up and down this branch on the left of my painting. You might want your shadow on the right, and that's all right with me. So just water, and then dip into the black, dot, dot, dot. If you want the shadow to be a little darker, you can add a little more paint. Then I can color over. Did I say color? I meant paint. I can brush over the paint to spread it out more and get that nice, crisp shadow. You can do the same thing on all of your trees. Now, if I want to make a tree look like it's close to me, I have a cool trick to show you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use just my water and I'm going to carry this line down like the trunk never ended. Then I'll dip in my paint and do my shadow. So what we're doing is we are making this tree overlap the horizon line for the snow. Make sure that if you do this technique, you add bark onto your tree. And you can also draw a very light outline if you would like, but you don't have to. See how that tree is standing up there? It's pretty cool, right? We can also add a shadow in the snow. And I think we can do that on this tree right here. So I'm just using water, and I'm going to make a line that goes towards the corner of my paper because this tree is very close to that edge. So I'm using just water, and then I'm going to do the same thing that I did to make the shadow on the tree. So add that darkness in there and spread that darkness out. So what I have is what's called a cast shadow. My object is in the light, which means that a shadow is on the ground either next to it, underneath it, or nearby. So now I have a tree with a shadow on the left and a tree with a shadow in the snow. Now, some people are saying, I don't want black shadow. Well, that's fine. You could do blue. Just a little bit of it. And make that shadow look crisp and icy cool. And that's it. Each of your trees should have at least a shadow to show the light source. They do not have to have a cast shadow on the ground. You can also do trees that overlap the horizon line if you would like. But it's your painting. You make it what you want it to be. I'm sure it will be just beautiful.